And we are live.
We live, baby.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to Moses Square Podcast Live Edition. I am Lauren Moses, here with my brother, Desmond Moses. And I'm going to
Yeah.
tilt my camera down because I did notice in our videos that you look taller than me, and I don't like that.
I'm big bro, and I am a little taller than you. That's all right. And
Emphasis,
as
emphasis on the word little. A little
yeah, you
taller
know
than
what?
me.
For our viewers, this my little sis. Laura Moses. She's the hooper, but we have these battles from time to time. We're a very competitive family. We
Yeah.
have these battles from time to time. Since a young buck, I know she went Division 1. I know she 1,000 point score, 2,000 in high school. Little
Let's
sis still
talk
can't
about
beat me,
it.
just for the
Let's talk
record.
about it.
Just for the
All-time
record.
leading scorer of the high school we both went to. Even though I'll let you go because you didn't graduate from there, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's this girl.
it is. It
It
is.
is. But happy Monday, everyone. Hope everyone's feeling great. It's March Madness time. I am myself am very excited. I told Des break out the jerseys because it's
Yeah.
college basketball time. He's repping Maryland, my grad school. Virginia
Uh-huh.
is my undergrad. So all is good for me. What about you? Let's do our check-in real quick. How are you doing? How was your weekend? How are you feeling about March Madness so far?
Blessed up. Got some things working
Yeah?
on the business side. Everything's looking good. God is good. I'm enjoying this March Madness. We come from a family of basketballaholics. Um,
is that
we
is that a
are
word?
we just made it up, but we
Yeah.
love the game of basketball. Ball is life. Where we're from in New Jersey.
Yep.
Um, Shout out to a team
I
from
knew
New
it was
Jersey
coming
that's
early.
yeah.
Early.
They got my energy up. I'm a little pumped right now. St. Peter's, you know,
Yeah.
Jersey,
No.
stand up one time.
They
How
showing
you feeling,
out.
love?
They're definitely showing out. If you've been tuning in to March Madness, well, first of all, if you haven't been tuning in to March Madness, I'm gonna say
You
a prayer
silly.
for you. But if you have been, then you would know that St. Petersburg has been doing the damn thing.
Yeah,
For
they have,
real.
and
Yeah.
we love it.
For
Lauren, how
sh-
you feeling though? Tell the
no.
people what's up. Give us a
I'm
check-in.
I'm feeling good. Mentally, I felt like, you know what? I did want to say this. When March Madness started, I felt like it started in my life as well. I tweeted, it was early on in the first week probably, and I was like, is anybody else feeling like March Madness has hit their life? You know, everything just starts going 1,000 miles per hour. And yeah, that's kind of how my first week was. But then when basketball started the second week, I was like, you know what? All is good.
Yeah,
You handle one thing at a time. You control what you can control, and you keep it moving. Other than that,
that's it.
so yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good these days. I've been covering, as you know, I've been covering the March Madness on the women's side here in
Mhm.
Austin, Texas. They had the first 2 rounds here, so that's been fun. But let's get into it. Let's. I'll pat
Golf
myself on
clap.
the back for that one. We need a button to be like, hey. But let's get into it. We talked about it. March Madness. It's all about college basketball time right now. The women and the men. Both tournaments had 68 teams to start off. I think with the women, we're still in our second round, and the men will their second round is done for the men, and they'll go on to the Sweet 16 later on this week. But we have to talk about the upsets because, as you know, upsets is part of the environment.
Yeah. What side of the bracket you want to start on? We're talking women's and men's because there's
Let's
been some on both sides.
There has been some on both sides, but let's start with the women first. It's Women's History Month. Got to keep our ladies
Okay.
first. And I believe that there were fewer upsets on the women's side.
Well,
So let's. Would you say?
yeah. I mean, I was thinking of a women's upset that was a little personal for me.
Yeah, and I was bringing that up
Um,
first, of course.
it hit close to home.
Yeah, let's
The
talk
women's
about it.
Hawkeye basketball team. They were number two. They had a number 2 slot. They lost at home in Corver Arena to Creighton, and it
Ugly,
was. I was in
ugly.
bed at watching this game, and I had a little sweat going. I had a little anxiety. I just knew they were gonna pull it out. They got one of the number 1 players in the country. They took a heartbreaking loss in front of their home fans. Lauren,
Yeah.
tell me about this. Did you see the game first off?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You able
Oh,
to
I saw the second half. Second half.
a lot of blown layups, a lot of missed layups. I mean, the Hawkeye fans
Livid.
we were heartbroken. We were
Yeah.
heartbroken. Yeah, I mean
So
it was.
So from what I saw, yes, Iowa has one of the best players in college basketball today. She is headlining the National Player of the Year award along with Aaliyah Boston, who plays for South Carolina. But it's undeniable that she is a talent, that she's a special player, has Steph Curry range, can score anywhere
True.
on the floor, can pass really well, get her post players involved. She's deceivingly quick as well. We're talking about Caitlin Clark. I don't think I even said her name. Caitlin Clark, by the way. And as a team, they didn't show up. You know, like you can have one player, you can have two players who give you what you need every single night, and even if they do show up and the other four players on the court don't, it's really hard. And so that's what we've kind of been seeing, especially on the women's side, is that star player, still getting their average, but everyone else just isn't pulling their weight. For instance, when you go up against a team like Creighton, a number 10 seed, have nothing to lose. In the post interview, they talked about it. They had nothing to lose, but to come in here, play basketball, and have fun. And that's what they did. It was obviously different from the Iowa girls and the Creighton girls who had fun last night. So that was definitely a good game. Creighton took it, was a 10 seed, 64-62.
And this is one thing I wanna say, because there was a statistic that said something like Iowa was only 50% inside the paint, which is layups, 50% from layups.
Yeah.
And this may be a theme to the whole deal. Control the controllables. There's a lot of things in the game of basketball and tournaments that you can't control.
Yeah.
Your level of fatigue, who you go up against. But one thing that you should be able to control is making your shots. Make the shots that you can make. And they missed 3 in the final possession,
Open,
which would have put them up and won the game for them. Iowa, they didn't get it done. They didn't.
And in a situation like the tournament, you don't get it back. You gotta think about that long and hard for the rest of the preseason. And honestly, I will say that is when the championships are really won, because a lot of times these players, or these teams, I should say, they have an off season. And actually, one of the teams that I was covering, Utah, who played Texas yesterday, their head coach talked about it. I can't remember her first name, Lynn. I want to say Lynn Roberts, the Utah head coach. She talked about it's like they had not a great season the year before. And granted, sure, COVID and didn't make the tournament, whatever. But this is a coach who had been to the tournament double-digit amount of times. Like she knows what it takes to get there. And so it was reminding her teammates in the preseason and the summer workouts and preseason workouts of like, hey, Y'all complaining about this. Do y'all remember what it felt like for us not to be in the tournament, or for us to lose in the first round of the tournament? That hurts way worse than any preseason workout. So I think for Iowa, they're going to have to swallow a tough pill, but it might do them well in the long run. And Caitlin Clark is coming back next year to finish out her collegiate year, even though she could go off to the WNBA if she wanted to.
Lauren, and I'm glad you said it. But all that being said, I know you had, in your own experience, you got to watch some really great games down there in Austin.
Yeah.
What was the biggest upset for you, or what was the biggest game headline for you on the women's side thus far?
So far, well, so the biggest one I think to me is South Dakota beating Baylor. Baylor is a number 1 seed. They are also have the best player in the country, who's probably going to go number 1, Nalissa Smith, in number 1 in the WNBA draft. So that was like a huge upset to me. I'm trying to pull up the numbers of that game, but they lost for sure. And South Dakota just showed up. They got shooters. Yeah. They got shooters. They gonna move the ball. They had upbeat spirits the entire time from second one to the 0 to the time went off. And it wasn't like it was a close game like Iowa Creighton. South Dakota beat them 61-47. They led for the majority of that game. And it was, I swear, sometimes when I watch Baylor, it upsets me because they have such great talent individually, but sometimes they just don't work hard as a collective group. And I watched Texas all weekend long. And when I tell you those girls bust their butts as a collective group, you probably heard it. Everyone's on a string. Defensively, everyone's on a string. Offensively, she knows she's doing backdoor. If she don't get the backdoor, somebody's coming around. Like, connectivity was there for this Texas women's basketball team. Baylor, I'm sorry, I said number 1. They were number 2 seed in this tournament, but they've been number 1 throughout this year. They just didn't have that. They act
Yeah.
like they didn't play together all year and they just wanted to rely on their scores, which did not do them well at all. And then the other one I would say is Princeton and Kentucky.
Okay.
Kentucky also took a L, and they just come off a really good postseason strike in their I'm sorry, I'm trying to plug in my laptop. They're coming off a very good postseason run in their SEC conference. They won the SEC this year, beating off South Carolina, who's number one. So, your expectations for them at that point would for them to get as far as they can, and losing in the second round just doesn't seem like that would have been their goal. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's tough though, but the interesting thing about the tournament is, you really get to see uh, how good of a team these different colleges, these different schools really
yeah.
are. From the small schools all the way up to the big schools, being able to watch games back to back to back like that, you can see the teams that have that mesh, that are together, that believe in one another. And this nowadays, it's not about the teams that have the best player.
Yeah.
It's about the teams that have the best togetherness, that can really come together and play the game of basketball the right way with 5 players or
And
more.
and I'll go as far as even saying it comes down to the team whose identity, because and for me it's always about identity, because
Hmm.
when I go back and I look at Virginia's women's basketball team over the past couple years, I've always talked about, even during the broadcast, was who are they going to be, like what do they want their identity to be, and if somebody is watching for the first time, they should know what their identity is. And for me,
Absolutely.
someone who has always been on the East Coast, watched in ACC basketball and even SEC, coming down here to Texas and actually seeing the Texas women's basketball team this weekend, I knew in the first 4 minutes of the game what their identity is. And it's their
Sure.
defense. And they're going to pick you up full court, 94 feet the entire time. And it isn't just their guards. It just isn't just their point guard. Their post players are guarding screens in the backcourt. And they're getting around them and denying play. Like, that's what I'm talking about when it comes down to, like, identity. Like, can a random viewer who's turned on the TV watch you for a couple minutes and know what you as a team say your identity is? And I think that is the
Right.
difference maker in these games, especially the mid majors. They come out, they work and practice every single day, and they have an identity, and it's showing.
Yeah, and some great coaching
Yeah,
in every level.
yeah.
Give me this real quick. Who do you have to win the tournament on the women's side?
South
Who's your
Carolina.
team?
South
Yeah.
Carolina.
All right. We're not even to big that. I'm about to say,
Yeah, that's a
I'll-
no brainer for me. I'm rooting for Dawn Staley. She's a fellow Wahoo. I mean, I just want her to get another one. She hasn't gotten one since 2017. And I mean, she got the best player in the country. So
and the sweetest contract right now. She got paid up this year.
that part.
Don Staley became
And that's
one
just
of
the
the
start.
highest paid, one of the highest paid coaches, men or women, in college basketball, and well deserved, because she has a heck of a team and put together a heck of a program.
Yeah.
So shout out to her. But
Yeah.
I'm South Carolina all the way. All
South
the
Carolina.
way.
So on the men's side, we
Yeah.
got a lot was shaken up early. Lord have
Early.
mercy. I don't know if everyone's doing brackets. Our family's doing a bracket. Everybody's talking trash in the group chat. Our dad's been talking trash since before he even made a bracket. So
Before he was even born, he was talking trash.
exactly. So, oh gosh, where do we even start? Where do you want to
Yeah.
start on the men's side of things? Because
Well,
it's been a lot.
I want to piggyback right off what you said, and identity being that. I got to watch a little bit of Villanova last night.
Okay.
Another East Coast team, a team that recruited me a little bit coming out of high school. But talk about an identity. I mean, these young bloods, they're not the highest flying, the most athletic. But when you watch basketball, these kids do everything the right way, all the way down to the smallest detail in passing the ball with such intention. I mean, they don't miss a single
Yeah.
thing. So well coached. Every guy on the floor can shoot. Every guy on the floor can defend, and it makes them a really tough team to go up against, especially this time of year, with some senior players and some guys that we consider veterans in college.
Yeah.
Their identity is clear,
Yeah.
fundamental in playing hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say that sometimes what I've realized throughout this tournament is that people or teams, I should say, hone in on their identity in the tournament. Because a team that I'm thinking of when you were talking was UNC, North Carolina.
Okay.
That's a
Yeah.
team that went through a lot of ups and downs during the regular season. Who are they going to be? Are they going to rely on their postman or big man? Are they going to rely on their guards to score? Like, who are they offensively? They like, it was just on and off every single night. And in the tournament, they've just been outworking their opponents. Like, they haven't even necessarily been doing anything flashy like Villanova. Not necessarily anything flashy, but they've been doing the little things. They've been getting on the boards. They've been being hungry or pursuing the ball, I should say. And so they have been doing well. They're already heading to the Sweet 16, and they'll face UCLA in that round. But we have to talk about St. Peter's, right? Because their Jersey team, they are also going to the Sweet 16, I believe, for the first time in school history. And they're the second New Jersey team since Seton Hall to make it to the Sweet 16. And their head coach was on that Seton Hall team that made it to the Sweet 16 the last time. So that's really cool. But they had a journey. They beat Kentucky in the first round, and they beat Murray State in the second round. Everybody knows Kentucky was a number 2 seed, and a lot of people, especially in our family, had Kentucky. I'll say it, my mom had Kentucky in or winning the championship, and obviously they won. They lost in the first round. But what have you seen from that St. Peter's team? That a lot of people wouldn't know because, Jersey ball is a little different. We're used to it. It's not surprising to us what they're doing, but as in a national scale, can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, it's the style. You're seeing hard-nosed, tough kids going up against what you would consider the big schools and the big guys, and they're probably trying to bully these kids and out physical. What you won't do is bully a Jersey kid, a New York kid. They with all that. We with all that, and a lot like the head coach said in a post-game interview, he's like, I got some kids from New York, New Jersey, like they embrace that type of play, that physicality, and being able just to finish the ball around the rim, get their shots, and then obviously play together. You're seeing a lot more unselfish basketball this time of year. I think everybody, all the way down to the 12th man on the end of the bench, is one objective. Go out and try to win a national championship. So teams, they tend to blend this time of year. And I think we're seeing that right now. But St. Peter's, they have some young talent, and they're letting it show. But I love their coaching. I love their mentality. And it's paying off for these young kids. They get a lot of exposure.
They're so much fun to watch. Just like I was talking about with the women's team, like when a team is out there looking like Creighton, like they look like they're having fun, like that's usually when like the best basketball is to watch. Because obviously March Madness it's all fun to watch, but to see these mid-majors having fun in the tournament, earning their spots in the tournament is an amazing thing to see. Other than that upset, there was another upset that didn't really pan out the way they expected it, but it was New Mexico State. New Mexico, they beat UConn. So New Mexico State was the 12th seed. UConn was the 5 seed. They beat UConn 70-63. They had a guard out there who was flaunting his stuff. Okay, he had a great night for sure. But he was in the stands, patting his chest. He was proud.
Yeah.
Do you think that's unsportsmanlike? A couple times the ref came up to him and talked to him, and it was the first round of NCAA tournament. You ain't ever been there before. Is that unsportsmanlike, or?
Young was trying to live his life. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to live his life. He's trying to let them know, look, we here. That's a team that New Mexico State, they normally don't get that type of national publicity. Being in a conference that they're in, they probably don't get the viewership of a lot of these other conferences. But no, I have no problem with it, and that might be the young Jersey boy in me. But no, you got to let them know. We had a coach that trained both myself and Lauren growing up, Coach June. And quick story, he used to take us to New York. He would take us from borough to borough. He was like 15, 16 years old. We hopped out of a van, 5 of us. He's like, look, when y'all dunking on them, slap the backboard. Scream on them. Let them know. I'm like, Coach, you sure? Like, we don't know these guys. He's like, slap the backboard after you dunk it on. And it was, obviously some of that's shunned upon now, but it was a
Yeah.
way to set the tone and let them know. And we never had any altercations with any of that energy, but we did gain a lot of respect. So for this kid, hey, let him know you getting
Yeah.
buckets, you representing. Let them know.
Let them know. So who do you have winning the whole
I love it.
thing?
Well,
I can't
we did
remember
a
who you
couple
had in your
brackets.
bracket. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
I went Gonzaga. They had a little scare
Okay.
last night.
But everyone
But
has. Shoot,
they have,
Arizona.
they have,
I got
they have.
Arizona, and they almost lost to TCU last night. Literally down by 10 with like less than 4 minutes left in the game, and they brought it back.
Well, let me
So,
ask you this: I have Gonzaga. That's my answer. But also, there's been a change, a slight shift in college basketball, college sports in general, with the transfer portal. You're seeing kids that may have been right off of the bench. They didn't quite love their playing time, their
yeah,
positioning on the team. Good players,
yeah.
even on the women's side. The young lady
The
left Iowa, went to
Creighton,
Creighton,
yep.
beat them. I
Made
mean,
the game winner.
bittersweet.
Yeah,
What do you think that's done to the game of college basketball and college sports in general?
yeah.
Being able to move and chase your dreams, because I think the kids should have the power.
I
I do.
think so. So I was actually I was texting my mentor Monica McNutt, who's on ESPN now covering the women's games, and I asked her that same question. Like, do you think the transfer portal is kind of like I guess is the result of all these upsets, the transfer portal, and she said a little bit, but the reason why I asked that was because of that exact same thinking is like these players who may not be happy in this situation, they can get up and go, and they can get up and go in the same conference. I remember ACC when I was playing and girls wanted to transfer. Oh, you got to sit out 2 years, and you
Yes.
might not get all them credits that you're going with. So, but from a competition standpoint, I like it. Like I like
Yeah.
it. I think it's made the game more competitive, especially at this level when you are in the same location as a team you used to play for, or even a rival that you might have had with a team you played for previously, and you get to see them again. Like there's a lot of different scenarios there, but the only thing I don't like about the transfer portal is the fact that you can get up and go whenever you want. Because when you think about it from the standpoint of like me, when I was playing, I had a teammate in my freshman year, or we came in as freshmen together, and she transferred after our sophomore year. And it kind of like disrupted kind of our flow. And when you think about, you join a program and you want to stay, you plan to stay there for 4 years. When you first sign your letter of intent, I'm sure everyone plans to stay where they're at for 4 years.
Sure.
And so you say you're that person, that freshman year, you got all four people with you. Next year somebody leave, the next year somebody leave. Now you second guessing your decision. And I feel like a lot of times, especially when we're in college, we're what, 17 to 21. We make rash decisions. And I think the transfer portal kind of just plays into those decision making, especially when it comes to playing for schools. But from a competition level, I like what I see for sure. But as a team, the teammate in me, I'm not sure how much I would love to see my teammates be dipping out left and right.
Well, here's why I like it, right? So for a kid like me, I had to transfer in college, and here's a story that a lot of people don't know. I was at the University of Iowa playing as a true freshman, true sophomore, got in a little bit of trouble, and came back from suspension, and I was buried down on the depth chart. I'm like, you know what? I hadn't been in a ton of trouble. One specific incident, public intox, and I'm like, man, okay. Talk to daddy. I'm like, I think it's time to, move on, as a business decision, as a young man, already knowing I had my goals set, like I want to be a pro football player. This is what I have to do. So I go into Ferentz's office. I tell him, man to man, Coach Ferentz, man, I really respect you. I appreciate the opportunity. I've talked to my family. I've decided that I'm going to transfer. I'm going to move on. His sentiment, Moses, we really respect you. We like you as a player. We don't want you to make a rash decision, kind of like how you're saying, sleep on it. Coach, I've already thought about it. I've spoken with my father, my family. This is what I want to do. Boom. I leave out of his office. Next morning, I wake up. ESPN headline, Desmond Moses is kicked off Iowa's football team. So instead of being able to go to the portal, I had to now deal with the backlash because the big university had changed the narrative.
Yeah.
And it went
And that
from
happens so way too often. Yeah.
way too often. It went from the Notre Dames, the Pitts, these big time schools
that have
where I
been,
should have landed,
yeah,
all of a sudden silence,
yeah.
because they're reading this coming from a respected program and I'm being left out to dry. But God had a better plan. I ended up at Tulane. Long story short, y'all see the pictures on the wall. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
talk too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, I feel
had the
that.
portal been there, had the portal been there, trust.
The portal. No, I definitely feel that, and I understand both ways. And I will say that I talked to a head coach about it too, about how they felt about the portal on the women's side. And she basically said, like, I want players who want to be here.
Sure.
And that's the best way to put it, honestly, especially from the standpoint of as a teammate. Like, I don't want to be on a team where my teammate doesn't want to be here, don't want to get better,
Right.
don't want to work hard, don't want, like, go to the portal. So when I think about it from that perspective, I do agree. I think it does have its pros and cons, but
For
in
sure.
regards to March Madness, I'm here for it. I
You
am.
here for it, baby.
I'm all the way here for it. So, any other March Madness stuff that you want to go over? It's a lot, but
No,
I
I
think
think so.
we
The
got.
men's side,
Yeah.
Gonzaga. Hold on, I don't think we got.
What's
Who you
that?
got winning the tourney? Is
Oh
your
yeah, I
team
said
out already?
Arizona. I said Arizona. We
Arizona.
still in it. We
Okay,
still in it. We still in it.
y'all
We
there.
almost lost, but
Okay.
we still in it.
Hey, it's a
I
fight,
say
baby.
we. I really. I'm not an Arizona fan at all. I just chose them. I really like how they playing this year. And how they rallied together to get that TCU win, because that was
Yeah.
almost a heartbreaker for sure.
Well,
But
let's
moving.
move on to your boy,
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta move on to my boy LeBron
your boy,
James.
LeBron James.
The king passed Karl Malone for the second NBA all-time scoring list. He is
LeBron James.
the GOAT, of course, a GOAT, of course. And he's making history. I mean, what he's been doing it almost every year in the league. I will say he definitely has made some type of history every year in the league. Go ahead.
Let's back up. You said
I said a GOAT.
the GOAT.
I said
and then you
a GOAT. I
Let's
said a
clarify.
GOAT.
Is he the GOAT? Let's talk about it. Is he the GOAT? Let's not it can only be one greatest of all time. Is LeBron James your GOAT?
I will say that. Okay, so so I think the GOAT of basketball worldwide, all years involved, is Michael Jordan. I think
Okay.
for my lifetime, because I grew up with LeBron, he is my GOAT.
Okay.
Clarification.
Okay. So all time you said is Mike?
Yeah. You got Kobe, I'm sure.
I don't know. I'm leaning towards LeBron, because I put a lot of
Time out, because I just
yeah,
need you guys to know that I have battled between him and my dad my entire
yeah,
life
yeah.
about LeBron being the GOAT.
Well, you're young.
We're gonna have to next time
validity.
we gotta get Daddy in on here, because this is just ridiculous.
Look. This is the thing about LeBron, and why the argument can change is because he's still playing.
Yes, that is
The
true.
longevity, being able to. I have a lot of respect for longevity. That's why I love the Tom Brady's. That's why I now love. I always had love for LeBron, but I really love LeBron James being in year. What is this? 20. Year 20 for the man.
Something.
I mean, he's playing. He's carrying a group of young guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's impressive to see a guy. I know what my body feels like some days to wake up and be 33 years old, and even when you're fit, and I mean, to be LeBron James at 270, 280.
Mm-hmm. He
Put in
was
that
drafted 2003. We're in 2022.
Yeah, so I mean, he's year 19. I mean, this fella is special,
Yeah.
and to be able to still do it at this level and still improve. That's another thing that I give him. He's still improving, and there's nothing that's stopping him. His jumper's looking tighter than ever. We used to laugh about, him not having it, him not having a little
his range
post-game.
is getting more in point too. And
Logo LeBron. Logo LeBron.
And you know what's funny? I was watching First Take today, and Kendrick Perkins was talking about how LeBron posted on his Instagram that about obviously this history-making moment, and part of his caption, LeBron's caption, was like, "But I'm not a scorer." And I think, and I don't think so Kendrick Perkins took it as what
as
is
a
that?
jab at y'all.
I was gonna say, but that's the thing. But Kendrick Perkins kind of flipped it and said, LeBron James has been the person saying that he's more than a scorer. He can do all these other things, which he can do. But I think LeBron, from a LeBron stan account, I think that he was saying, hey, I'm number 2 on the all-time scoring list, but I'm not a scorer. Like, I can do all these other things. I can get my players involved. And he's always talked about the ability, and not even the ability, but the fact that he wants to win, and he knows the people around him are going to be a huge part of that. So he's going to dish to them. He's going to make sure they get their touches, just like they make sure he gets his when it's time. So I think that's the huge difference maker. And then also in the same week, or I think earlier last week, he became the first player in league history to have 10,000 career points, rebounds, and assists, which goes further into saying how much of a full-rounded player he is.
30,000, 10,000, and 10,000. Y'all be quiet. I mean, Mike is always going to be up there in the GOAT talk. Mike's 5th on the all-time scoring list, and that's in 1,072 games. LeBron is number 2 in 13, just over 1,300 games. But I don't care about none of that. Look, longevity gets the pass.
Yeah.
If you can, nobody said Mike had to stop playing. Nobody said take no breaks.
Yep.
LeBron is going to playoffs. He's going deep into the playoffs year after year. You know, the amount of wear and tear that puts on your legs, his commitment to the game, preparation mentally. They always talk about how this guy has photographic memory. He knows the other team's offense better than some of their players.
Yeah.
And then obviously what he gives as far as for his body, the investment and the time. He's in the GOAT talk.
Of course. And we have to, and we don't have to talk about it this week. I do want to talk about it, and I want it to be longer, but we are running out of time. But we have to talk about Tom Brady returning. Because I text you like, he's back. He said, what? So yes, we will talk about that next episode, because that's a whole episode in itself. But the last thing that I do want to touch on, it is a little touchy. No pun intended. That's not funny.
Lord forgive us.
We gotta chill. But last thing I do want to touch on, because it's everywhere, is the Deshaun Watson news. His trade to the Cleveland Browns, 5-year. How much was it? 230.
230.
230. All guaranteed. And as many people may or may not know, there were lawsuits out in criminal court, which have been dismissed. 22 reports or accusations, I should say, of sexual assault allegations. And now they're all civil cases. And so they are civil, and they have been civil cases when this deal / contract was talked about, signed, etc. Yeah. It's a little touchy for me, because as a woman, and we kind of talked about this in a group chat with our family the other day, I just don't think the NFL prioritizes women. It's not a league that's catering to women. However, women are their bottom line when it comes to sales, when it comes to viewership. So I think that it should be taken into account a little bit more. But when we talk about Calvin Ridley, who just got suspended a year for gambling, and we talk about 22 pending cases of sexual assault allegations open on a player, 230 million just seems excessive. And when I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I was like taken aback, kind of grossed out. And the response from the Browns on that was that they have done their due justice and their types of investigations. However, the lawyer for all 22 accusers say they were not contacted. So it's just a lot of questions. Obviously, it's pending legal investigation, so we don't have all the information. So it's a soft spot. But what was your reaction to this news?
Honestly, Lo, I'm indifferent. I am, because unfortunately, as a male athlete and being in a position, I've had threats against me from women that, were false, and sometimes even, you see collusion and folks come together to try to tear a man, whether black or white. But tear a man down, especially athletically, because when a story breaks like this, inevitably,
Mm-hmm.
it's human nature to have a reaction, right?
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson, I follow him since his Clemson days,
Mm-hmm.
and this brother never had a single.
I
I mean,
played
he
with
was
someone
team
who,
cap.
yeah, I played with someone who dated him all throughout college at Clemson. So it's
Yeah,
it's very it's just it's a tough situation, right?
yeah,
Because in situations like that, there's no you're right, you're wrong. Like, and
yeah.
evidence is really hard to get in those situations as well. So and yeah, continue.
And
Sorry.
not only that, no, I mean, no, you're making great points. It's just, so I try to take a step back and say, okay, is this a person with a spotted past? Is this, are these women coming out from a decade? Has this been going on? And it doesn't seem to be the case for him. I'm not a policeman. I don't have all the evidence. I'm not an investigator. But there was a time when this man asked to get out of Texas,
Hmm.
out of the organization, and all of a sudden, all of these accusations arose. And like you said, all 23 of them have the same lawyer.
22.
It's 22.
Hmm.
It seems very odd. I don't know. Again, I don't know all the facts, but it seems very odd and like almost like somebody wanted to devalue this young man. And again, if he's guilty, throw his ass in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, that's point
Period.
blank. Period. It ain't no way around that.
Yeah.
But if he's not, it's a shame
Yeah.
because he has a family, and
And
I'm
I think if
sure.
he's not, these women also need, and like for me,
Yeah,
it goes both ways. If
yeah.
he's guilty, he needs to go away.
Period.
If he's not guilty and he's proven innocent, then these women need to face some consequences because they are
Absolutely.
messing with and ruining someone's life, really their
Yeah.
career, and
The
just
reputation.
reputation, exactly. And so that's I mean I feel both sides of it for sure. I just think from a standpoint of a national football league that the punishments need to be looked at because they don't make a lot of sense to me. I'm sorry. Between the assault issues that they've had in the past, when one person gets fined and then another person is
Yeah.
what is it, suspended indefinitely, like, or kicked out of the league, like, it just, there's no middle, like, it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme to reason. It's just like whatever they decide the punishment to be is what it'll be.
What are the judge and the jury? And that's a lot of the problem. There was a kicker from the New York Giants. This man had been beating his wife for years. He played the very next season. Actually, he continued playing that season.
No.
And, it was kind of her word versus his. And it's like those types of stories make me ill. I mean, this lady was sleeping under the bed and all type of stuff. It was, and this man was still able to go out and make a living. But you're right. I mean, it is, as far as the Ridley deal, it's a little bit different because he jeopardized the integrity of the game. You don't want folks gambling on their own games. You get to a Pete Rose scenario where it's like, what are we watching? Is this wrestling? Is it fake? Is it real? Who's throwing the game?
Yeah.
But
I think I
you're
just
right.
want integrity to be, if integrity is going to be the word, I just feel like, there should be integrity, or I don't know. I don't know what the word is. It's not even integrity, maybe, but it's just like, what is the integrity of the NFL?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've shown over the years
They have,
that,
and so,
that
and yeah,
it's about even for the players, even
Yeah.
as a player.
Yeah.
There was a young man from Michigan at his pro day, tore his Achilles. Nobody even, it was like they were watching animals run.
Yeah.
Nobody ran over to this kid and said, "Okay, wow, let's take a beat. It's inhumane to say the least."
yeah,
And I think all the way from top to bottom, it's been shown, it's been proven. History is the fingerprint. It's an inhumane game. They care
Yeah.
about that mullah, that
Yeah.
mullah, that mugga, that money.
Well, what I will say to finish this off,
Yeah,
is advocate for yourself, especially
sure.
Black people. A lot of times we are looked over. A lot of times we are sidelined. A lot of times we are not heard even when we are speaking directly to people's faces. So speak for yourself, and not even to speak for yourself, but advocate for yourself, and make sure that you have a good group of people around you, especially as an athlete. Good group of people around you from before you blow up, and especially after you blow up, because the people around you are going to be the people that fall with you and the people that rise with you. So definitely make sure your group is big, is good behind you, because when I think about Colin Kaepernick, this man ain't played a game since, and he is still advocating for black folk. He's advocating for himself as an athlete, and I'm pretty sure he's still thriving.
Yeah, 100%.
With or without the NFL.
Still got a Nike deal worth multi-millions. And all that being said, he's controlling his controllables. You know, he can't hire himself onto a team, but he's taking the bull by the horns and really just, like you said, he's been advocating for himself, for his people. And that's the most impressive part. You know, don't just lay down.
Yep.
More so now than ever.
Yep.
We have a voice. There's a platform. Somebody's listening. And if they're not listening immediately, make them listen.
Make them
Stand
listen.
up.
Exactly.
Stand up and make them listen.
Yep. Well, that is all for today, Moses Square Podcast Live Edition. I hope you guys had a wonderful Monday and have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Lauren Moses. Again, he is
It's your boy.
Des Moses, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thanks for coming.